What's going on, everybody? It's podcast 1558. We're going over Kansas City Chiefs 2021 over and unders. Let's do this. What is going on, everybody? This is Billy Truelove with podcast 1558. Wanted to get a last-minute video in before the season starts. I got a very special guest with me today, Josh Kingsley from Arrowhead Kingdom, who we have recently partnered up with. They are doing big things. If you didn't see him on the news, check the link. I definitely dropped that as well. Had a nice little spot on the news the other night. And today, me and Josh are going to go over just some quick hits, some popular over-unders for the 2021 Kansas City Chiefs season. Josh, thank you. Thanks for taking your time on some short notice and joining me here to go over some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very happy to be here. Glad to work with you on this.
You are the man. Well, then I won't waste any more time. Let's get into some of these. We're going to go over some of the players over unders, and most importantly, the Chiefs win total, which is set at 12.5. I think this one, as far as Chiefs Kingdom goes, there's no way anyone's pounding the under on this. Josh, are you thinking 12.5? The Chiefs meet that mark?
Yeah, over all day. I mean, every preseason pick that I've done, I've been picking a 14-3. I just don't see a world where they don't get out of the season with a small handful of losses. I've been picking the Raiders in Vegas, the Packers at home as two that I think are pretty likely losses. And then we have no idea if we're going to be setting the entire team for 2 or 3 weeks at the end of the year. So I don't see a world where we leave with less than 3 losses, but we're sure as hell going over 12.5.
Yeah. The extra game does make things interesting, knowing at what point, if this is going to end up turning into something where we actually do see the starters get rested for more than just the last game. Obviously, it comes down to how much in control we are of the number one seed, seeing that's the only seed that gets a bye week now. The number 2 seed would still be the goal if you slip from that, but the number 1 is the obviously what you're going for there. So, depending on what I would say probably be the Buffalo Bills or the Cleveland Browns, depending on how their seasons go, could very well determine whether or not Pat and the starters are playing. But regardless of that, I think 12 wins is going to be what will be easy for us to pass, bearing any crazy injuries.
Sure, agreed.
So for Patrick Mahomes, this one is tough. This one I'm not too sure. I'm interested to see what you got here. Passing touchdowns, 39.5. And I do think kind of just what we just touched on it. This could very well depend on the amount of games Patrick plays. We know he's more than capable of passing for more than 39 touchdowns, especially if he's playing every week. Do you think he surpasses the 39 mark?
I actually do. I mean, we've seen him be in the 50s before. I don't necessarily know that he's going to do that again or if that's going to be necessary. I'd honestly kind of like to see him not have to get that high because Clyde takes a couple in and the running game actually contributes a little bit. But I think over 39 is going to be something that he and the offense are going to be motivated to do. And with a new line, I don't see any reason for it to not happen.
Absolutely. I'm with you. And with 38 as his 2020 total, still sitting 1 week. So if we're going to assume that things go well, he does sit the final game, we're still getting an extra game out of him. So very good chance he passes 39. I would pound the over on that for Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns in 2021. An interesting one that is for me is going to be tough. The offensive line plays a big part in this. Clyde Edwards, not his total yards from scrimmage, but rushing specifically. The over/under is set at 900. He was on pace to pass that. The injuries slowed him down. I personally think this offensive line, its real MO is going to be run blocking. And I think if as long as the committee doesn't take too much too many touches from Clyde, I would definitely be on the over on 900 for Clyde. What do you think, Josh?
He better. That's all I have to say. Is he better? He better. He better. And I think
Yeah.
that I would throw money at it, thinking that he will. But I mean, he better. That's my
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, and that would just be um God, I can't imagine if we have a 1,000 yard rusher um with a steady line. I just can't fathom what that's going to do for Patrick Mahomes this year and how difficult this offense is going to be to cover if there is a legitimate run game that poses a threat.
Yep. And for the record, if he ends up taking a bunch of shovel passes and gets something like 1,000 yards receiving and couples that with 600 yards running between the tackles, I can't say that I really
Yeah.
care. And I'll light more money on fire in a weekend normally than
Yeah.
I would betting on something like this. But you know, he needs to be over 1,500 yards from scrimmage is the place where I really feel, and he better go over 1,000 rushing, because that I
That
think
would be
makes
a
us a really
nice spot.
dynamic offense. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely does. Well, everyone's the fan favorite on this offense, second to Patrick and maybe Travis, is Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Uh, the over underline for his receiving yards is 1350, and whew, that's a lot of yards.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's worth betting the over, even for someone as dynamic as Tyreek Hill for 1350?
I'm going to say I would go the under on that one. And this is another level of, I really hope that he doesn't end up with that many yards, because that literally means there's nobody on the outside for Mahomes to throw to. If he goes over 1,350 yards, I think that tells us what the season from McCole Hardman looks like. I think that tells us how much Byron Pringle and others like that come in and take any of that load. So I'm expecting the offense and the receiving core to be a little better than we think it's going to be. This might be hopeful thinking. I also know that with all these extra tight end targets that we have, there's going to be some target share taken away. And, I would expect most teams to come in with a plan to not let Tyreek Hill beat you. So I would go under on the 1350.
I'm with you. I think 1350 is asking a lot. He's obviously capable of doing it, but it just means that we're having to force feed him the ball. With Travis out there, I, they take so much traffic from one another. But like you said, what I'm really hoping to see is that McCole Hardman have a breakout season. This is do or die for him as far as I'm concerned this year. He needs to step up. I think he's more than capable of doing it, and he's got the best quarterback in the league. So there's no excuses here. If you can't do it in Kansas City as a number, I'll call it 2B receiver, maybe 3 receiver, because of the dynamic that Travis Kelce has. If you can't do it here, you
Yep.
can't do it anywhere. So really hoping McCole Hardman makes it happen this year and extends the life of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I'm with you on that. I would bang the under for 1350. I'll skip. I want to get to the defensive side of the ball here on the last one for the Chiefs, because I think this one is going to be and should be what Chiefs fans keep their eye on. This is very important this year. Chris Jones sacks. They have him. The over under is 8. And the fact that he's moving to the edge on a we'll see how often basis, this should increase what he's able to do, how often he can get to the quarterback. Having Jaron Reed inside, even when they play together, is going to help him get there quicker. I have to go over, and I know this sounds crazy, and maybe this is my hot take. Um, and it's going to sound weird because he's not a dedicated outside linebacker like we've seen with the Justin Houstons and the Von Millers. But I think Chris Jones is a dynamic enough player. If he gets enough time outside and it's working, he could break the sack single season record at 22 and a half. I think he goes way over the 8. And I am looking for him to actually break the single season sack record. That I know it's a hot take, That's why it's hot. But I think if anyone could do it, it's Chris Jones. If you saw Aaron Donald moving outside 90% of the time, you'd be saying that there's just no ceiling to what he could do there. Chris Jones is definitely comparable to Aaron Jones in the way they play and their ability. What do you got on the Chris Jones sacks over under, Josh?
So I would say that of all the ones that we've talked about, I'm kind of with you. This is the one that I feel most confident going over with. I mean, 8.5 is kind of an insulting number for a guy like Chris Jones. That's a good betting number if he stayed inside the entire season. I mean,
Yeah,
that's crazy that him as an edge, which all the early returns are saying that it worked well. I don't know that I can quite go as far as break the single season record, but I'll tell you right now, I would not be surprised if it did happen. I'm not going to be sitting here going like, "Oh, I never saw that coming." It's well
yeah,
within the realm of possibility. I would say my bigger concern with that is I'm a little more afraid that he might end up being a one-man wrecking crew all of Jared Allen than having the kind of defensive cast support that like Justin Houston did when he made an actual run at that. He wasn't the only guy they had to
true.
worry about in that situation, and that's the only reason that I can't quite get there. But that being said, if Nick Bolton turns out to be a rock solid contributor, and that front line that we have in the middle ends up being solid contributors as well. If Frank Clark manages to actually get off the bus and show up and pack his
Yeah,
Uzis up and get his act together, there
yeah,
might be
yeah.
something possible there as well. But I certainly believe that 8.5 is an insulting number that he'll decimate.
Yeah, I'm with you on there, and this is especially what's going to help him with something like this is just how many points the Chiefs put up. We should be seeing plenty of dropbacks from opposing teams,
Absolutely,
even
absolutely.
even teams like the Browns. We saw it in the playoffs. 19 touches, I think, between both Chubb and Kareem, because we can absolutely take away your run game from our offensive side of the ball if if things go our way. We've removed Derrick Henry from games. We can make your quarterback drop back, and Chris Jones playing outside. And like you said, this is a big year for Frank Clark. It's either you know go into this upcoming offseason on a down note, or go get your shit back together this year and find a way to stay on this team. I think the Chiefs would love to find a way to keep him, even though he's overpaid. Um, if we get a ring, that solves a lot of problems for players. When you go and get a ring, we can talk about money with a lot less anxiety and angst behind it, and we can get some players paid. But yeah, Frank Clark, big year for him. Well, guys, those are the over-unders for the Kansas City Chiefs 2021 season that we wanted to touch on. Make sure to like and follow Podcast 1558. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and check out Arrowhead Kingdom with my friend Josh Kingsley here. Anywhere you can, you'll see them on our Twitter, on our Facebook, and Arrowhead Kingdom's arrowheadkingdom.org as well. All right, and that is it for this. We will see you this weekend, week 1, Chiefs Browns. Let's go. And yeah, God bless America and go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.